What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy the Middle Aged Gamer and this is the Tokyo Marui full size USP. Now, people keep asking me like, what's the deal with the USP? Like, what's the history of it? Well, USP, as we know, stands for Universal Self-Loading Pistol. It was a project in the mid-80s that was, how would I say, started or commissioned via HK. And they'd had a few working prototypes at this point when we already had just had the Miami-Dade shooting in the US, which forced the FBI to adopt the 40 Smith & Wesson caliber as a round. And HK was already working on a 40 Smith & Wesson, this new hot cartridge, to develop a pistol for that, aimed at the militaries, as when America's special, how to say, investigation unit, the FBI or the CIA or any military branch adopts something, everyone else tries to rush to copy suit. So they were already planning this. But in roughly 1988, thereabouts, 89, a call from US SOCOM for a pistol that would replace a lost primary of a soldier on insertion. So you jump out of a plane, for what reason you never attached your gun properly and your rifle gets dropped down. They wanted a pistol that could fulfill the same roles that rifle could do, but as a pistol, and they could carry it on their leg. And of course, HK already had this prototype, as we all know what that was, the Mark 23. And it was kind of halfway through that product testing and development phase, with the second model out of the three, the third one being the finalized and what was adopted. But it was when the second one was presented that they presented the USP, and that was chambered in 45 ACP, not 45 Super like the Mark 23 was. It was 45 ACP. It could handle Super if it sort of like had a few tweaks here and there in construction, and that's what they wanted. They could have done that, but it was more compact. It was better to carry, more easier for a soldier, and everything was more simplified. You had one control that would put it on safe and decock rather than separate ones. But the US SOCOM said, nah mate, you can have it, go ahead, we're not interested, we're happy with this, and they went with the Mark 23. And so the USP was born in the German Bundeswehr as the USP Tactical. There was also the non-tactical versions that was sold in 45 ACP later on, to the civilian market, as they say, around US and all this. And it was also sold in 9mm to the police. And that's what we have here. As it says here, it's the 9x19 variant. And to be honest, I'm kind of happy having this on the channel because it brings the family of military guns adopted versions, or military/law enforcement, let's get that correct, to the channel. And one thing's for sure, look at the box. I mean, you know, Tokyo Marui already know how to make you feel happy. You get your unique barcode here. You've got all the actual, how do you say, little proof markings dotted around, the name of the gun. It just looks kind of cool. So I'll move my patch out of the way. As you can tell, I am a H&K fan. I do believe that they are just tank guns and they work. Whereas you might get a more beautiful looking gun like with the M17 or a 226 with its curvy nature, but sometimes you need the straight and true of a USP. It's just something about it. Now, as we open the box, we can flip it over. As you can see, you get the usual instruction manuals down there and the securing foam on the back. Let's yeet that out of the way. And that leaves us here to this awesome gun. I mean, it's really nice, you know, just looking at it in its standard 9x19. Now, people don't realize what the size is like, and later on I'll show you what it's like. It's kind of crazy. Now, in the box, as you can see, you get your pistol, you get the rail adapter, which is great because sadly, like with the KWA one, you have to buy a separate rail adapter, which I did. I got mine from King Arms for the 45 USP, whereas TM provided you a Picatinny rail adapter out of the box, and it fits and just works wonderful. You get one magazine. Now here in this little piece here, you will have your bag of BBs, your dry fire adapters, a barrel plug, and if I'm right, there is your cleaning and unjamming rod. Now I already opened this, like I say, because this is my good friend Jay's pistol now. It did used to be mine. I ran it for nearly 8 months straight as my primary because this is awesome. And we'll get to that now. So let's do what we always do. Let's complete that picture. And let's have a look at this. We can move this box out of the way because that's done with now. We'll pull a stand in there just for later on. Now, straight away, we'll take a look at the magazine, shall we? Okay. So, your magazine features your 9x19 markings on the left. It is a 24 round mag, so I would only load 22 BBs in this. It has the easy feed at the bottom, so you can just pull down your feed and feed from the bottom and it easily fills up. Not like some of the mags like KWA that you have to fill from the top here and drop them in. You do get your, I would say, 14 rounds on the back for the real steel, which, remember, this is, like I say, early 90s when it was being adopted by the police force, and still is. It's under the guise of the P801 is its official code name for the police variant. And VFC do release one of that, but it's very limited stock and hard to get hold of the magazines for it. But yes, they do the P801 now. But TM went with this version. It's the exact same gun. The only thing it's missing is the name on the side, but because this is a civilianized, but it is the exact same. But yeah, so that's your magazine. It's quite simple. You do get your USP, if I show the markings here, HK USP here on the bottom, your lanyard loop here. It's HK USP marked on the side. It is the USP grip, so you get the nice smoother but nice checkering here on the side, or grip, and the checkering more aggressive here at the front strap and the back strap for a better purchase. Now, this being small, it feels compact to me. So when people ask me what sort of compact gun to use, this is actually on the list, as it really is a good gun. Now, moving slightly up, you do have your magazine release. It is an ambidextrous paddle release, European style, so you can push from either side. But on the USP, unlike when you look at the VP9 or any of the more modern stuff, you get the massive paddles here. These are small. They were designed to be small so that when it's carried on a policeman's holster rig or on a military holster rig, it doesn't catch on their web gear easily. It's just small and nice. You do get a DSA trigger, so it is double action, single action, which is awesome, and it's got the, how to say, wider trigger guard on there, which is, again, awesome for airsofters because we have our gloves with the armor plates on there, so you can easily get your finger in there without any cramped. You're not sort of like constantly adding pressure to it. You can take your finger off easily, and it's just way better. Now, moving up, as I say, this does have your up for safe, your down for fire, and you can down again for decock. Now, as you notice, the decock puts it in the 50% range. So if I fire that, get it to the back. Now we can drop the mag, so I can put it into its double. Its double action has a very long take up, but then a very sharp break. But its reset on single action is there. So you're talking 3.5 millimeters of travel, then you're right back at the wall and it's instantly firing ready to go, which means you can really spam the trigger out of this thing. It's awesome. But if you do drop or decock it and it goes to that halfway point, you get this nice, very soft take up right to the part here. So it's like a 1.5 trigger now, and then bang. It's really easy to pull that follow-up shot if you drop the hammer. So that's another really good thing. Now, with this being Tokyo Marui, you do have full metal controls here. This is a polymer coated metal piece, which is really cool. Metal trigger, metal mag release, and a metal slide stop. Now, the USP from TM features an enhanced slide stop for it. It's one of their more modern stuff. This was technically the first pistol to use the super large blowback piston head and housing, and all the reinforcement ribbing down the actual slide, so that, yes, this gun does run on green gas, no problem. Now, your rail attachment would go on here, and you'd have your Picatinny rail. But let's get a look here. You do have the proof markings here from the German proof marks, along with the antlers, which is cool, your serial number, acceptances, more proof parts for the military. You do have the 9x19 here, and you get your USP and HK stamped on there. Your front sight is full metal, which is great, and so is your rear sight. Now, as you can see, this still features the polygonal outer barrel. There are some versions with the rifle inversion. Both are correct because it was dependent on the contract at the time. Now, if we look at the hammer is full metal, but on the other side, this safety is the, I would say, right-hand friendly only at the moment, but you can purchase an ambidextrous. It does have the marking for safe there in case you are putting one on there. They do still include that. That's awesome from TM for doing that because it's just like the real steel. You can switch it. They don't come fully ambi unless you get the tactical, depending on the contract or the version model. There are multiple triggers in the real steel, like the, what's it called? Is it the law trigger or the police trigger, which basically is double action all the time, but if it has the same pull as a single, so there's nothing all the way to the single point and pull the hammer and boom. It's really been worked. It's apparently really good, but this is in its double action, single action form. Now, as you can see, you do have the USP and the serial code here, which is matching to your slide. On your barrel, you have the H&K, the 9x19, your matching serial number and proof. That's one good thing about TM. They do match a lot with everything. You have a metal extractor on the side, unlike older TM designs, which were pure plastic. There is a lot of metal in this. You wouldn't even think that this was a polymer slide. It does feel metal, especially on a cold day. But it is a beautiful gun. And like I keep saying, it has been an honor. Oh, and your serial number plate here, just like modern polymer pistols should have, is just under there. Refer to owner's manual is written there, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it's an honor to have this pistol on the channel. And so with that being said, let's take it outside and chronograph it. Okay, I'm using green gas and 0.2 gram BBs. That's awesome. What's the average there? So we're getting an average of 296 FPS out of Tokyo Marui. That is fantastic. Okay, so let's do a grouping test. I'm going to take it back to about 10 meters and let's see what the USP can do. Some are really good, but some I'm pulling. I can definitely feel I'm pulling. But not bad still. If that's my hand and it's overlaying, covering them all, that's not bad. It's going to hit your center mass, so the accuracy is really good. Okay, so now that we're on the Texas Star, let's see what her accuracy really is like. I'm going to take it back again and let's see if those numbers add up. It's the last shot, and we're going to make it, or we're going to get a miss. Oh! Let's swap mags. There she goes. Well, sadly, they didn't make it, but it was so close. Okay, well that was an interesting chronograph and accuracy test. As you can tell, it's absolutely accurate. The kick on this thing is ridiculous. It's just as strong as any metal slide gun out there, and that's no exaggeration. But that's part and thanks to the internals of that gun, which we'll get into now. Now, first of all, let's make the gun safe. Remove the magazine. There are no BBs in it. There is no BB in the chamber. So the gun is completely safe. Now we'll move it back to its takedown spot right about there. Push through on the other side. Pull that pin out. We can remove that slide. Now, if we put the pin back in, because we'll need that to show you the function, basically some of the improvements on this gun has been towards the lockback. Now, straight away, you will see on this pistol that they've really worked, I would say, their awesome magic on this gun. And I'm not exaggerating there. They really have worked their awesome magic. You have a steel piece here now, which basically will lift up and engage with the slide. It is much broader than the traditional ones, because the ones, when we do my P226, you will find they're literally just a thin, it's still steel, but it's only a thin piece and therefore creates more wear on the slide. Whereas this being broader will engage better with the slide lockback mechanism, or the slide latch on side, and will stop the slide, which is a lot better, not dependent on this little pin here. So that's kind of cool. Now, let's remove it. This gun has been well oiled by the owner of the gun. Awesome. Again, thank you, Jay, for lending this to the channel. This, like I say, I ran this for 8 months straight. It's just an absolute great piece of kit. Now, you do have a steel, I would say, striker reset. So, as you can see, you've got your trigger reset there, and then you've got your striker reset right there. The striker has been angled correctly for a better engagement on the magazine. One of the things that VSC are now starting to do with their Gen 3s. It is a steel striker on this, which is great. All the pins are steel. There's just a lot more metal in there to reinforce this gun now. Some steel, some very thick aluminum. And I really love that. TM have really stepped up their game on, I would say, you know, quality assurance, let's put it that way, and reliability. And this being the genesis of their new designs over the last 5 years, you can see why. So if we move that to here a second, we can slide that out the way. Let's have a look at the slide itself. Now, straight away, you do have the H&K dual recoil, I would say, guide rod, which is great because you have the smaller spring at the bottom and the bigger one at the top, which does take the edge off. So when you are actually using green gas, this is actually doing what the real steel is doing, basically, and reducing recoil. We can easily remove that. It's nice and captured, which will, I would say, allow us to remove the actual inner and outer barrel and hop unit. Now, this hop unit is awesome. The reason being, you have your wheels here so that when this is actually in, so if I put this back in a second, and as the gun goes forward, you can still access your hop here on the left easily enough, where my thumb is. You can access that hop with a small little pin, a screw, or a toothpick, or whatever you can easily access that and adjust your hop without having to take this slide on and off many times. But that's kind of cool. Now, one thing you will notice, there is a metal reinforcement rib going the entire length down either side here. That metal reinforcement will mean that the slide no longer flexes enough to crack. The blowback unit has been substantially beefed up, which is great, along with your very large piston head. This thing has just been really worked on. Now, one thing they do provide, I would say they sell separately, is the RMR plate for this gun. So yes, these two screws here that you can see just deep down, let's see if we can get them in for you. There's two little screws there, one either side. You remove those, that allows you to take the rear sight off, and you put the plate here on the top. It's allowing you then to fit the Marui, I would say, RMR. But yeah, this slide is nice. It's got a nice weight to it. It's not too heavy for a polymer slide. You wouldn't really be disappointed owning something like this. It's not one of those that make you scream out and go, oh, I need to go and get that slide kit. No, you don't. Now, to reassemble, it's actually quite simple. It's not like many others that you have to faff about with. It's as simple as that, and it's done. The slide is back together. We can now just rest that on the blower rail here, slide that back to the takedown part. We'll put our pin back through. line it up level with the spring, and that, push through. Slides, locks, function test complete. And it is just an absolute gorgeous gun. Now, the best thing about this is, like I say, is being able to bring the family of guns in. So we all know the genesis of the USP. I've already spoken to you about that. I've spoken about it, so we'll move this out the way. Now, the genesis of the USP was this bad boy right here, the Mark 23, a awesome, hard-kicking, hard-sounding gun, which is absolutely a beautiful piece of kit, right? This was what sparked the USP's growth. Then, from that, the USP was born, which was the USP Tactical. Now, this being the 45, you get a much bigger, I would say, magazine for the bigger round, which will hold 12 rounds of 45 ACP, but a bigger gun. And again, being all the modern features, you get target sights at the rear for better accuracy, ambidextrous, because it was designed on there. So you've got the, like I say, target sights, the ambidextrous controls on that side, just the slide stop that's not. But you do get the same magazine release on all the guns, which is, again, another great piece of kit, right? Now, as you can suddenly see a size difference between all these as I level them up exactly. And that led to the police version, which is, slash civilian, which we have here. And you can see the three together. So if I bring them better into frame for you, we can just bring it down. The Mark 23 is just too huge, but we can bring it slightly closer for you and we'll line it up. And that kind of shows you right here, right there, the size differences between all three, and that is a complete family together now. You have the Birth with the Mark 23. You have the USP, full-size 45 ACP from that, which went from the American, the German military, and the basically worldwide police force and civilian market got this version. Like I say, it's had a name change to the P801 USP, and that was in if I remember rightly, it was 2018. It was adopted again by the US SWAT, the Germany's SWAT team. And that kind of lends to the theory that, yeah, it is just an absolute great piece of kit. And that even though it was a product of the early 90s, let's say, when it was fully adopted worldwide, it was a case of, yeah, it can be a product of that time, but this is still a beautiful piece of kit. It is something to be very proud of. And I don't know about you, but if you look at any modern guns today, anything in the 21st century that's come out as military style, whether it's FM with the FNX, you look at the M17, I mean, it's got the exact same sort of silhouette. It's just they're all more curvy, they're all more things. And yeah, you might have an optics mount cut into the slide, which, believe it or not, I believe you can actually get now. You know, and if you're in America, there is a great custom guy who works now with HK to do that for you. So yeah, because HK built a slide that was so big and so thick to count with the high pressure rounds, you know, bigger caliber, that it's basically one that you wouldn't mind shooting overpressured rounds through because it would be fine. Like I say, the 45 Super being, what was it, plus P plus P plus, and then 45 ACP plus P, and then the 9mm plus P, and all the variants in between. Well, this has been an absolute awesome time to be able to bring this to you guys. I hope you've enjoyed being able to see the family of the USP together and the awesome offering from Tokyo Marui, which you can purchase from any of your Tokyo Marui dealers out there. They all have them in stock, and it's a really fair price. You won't be disappointed. You will be very happy with it, and it'll be reliable for you. I can say that with very much certainty. So with that being said, I've been the Middle-Aged Gamer. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.